Have you ever watched the person you love become a stranger right before your eyes? It started with the ring. Her wedding ring, the one I'd slid onto her finger 5 years ago under a summer sky, started disappearing. It was always after she came home late, smelling of a perfume I didn't recognize, and smiling an apology that never quite reached her eyes. She'd hold up her left hand, naked and pale, and say she must have left it by the sink at the gym. But the third time it happened, as she slept soundlessly beside me, I saw the faint indentation on her finger, a ghostly white line where that ring was supposed to be. And I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to the bone, that the gym wasn't the only place she was visiting. If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel. Tell us where you're from and what time it is right now. It's always fascinating to know how far our story flows. For the first few weeks, I lived in a fog of denial. Jessica, my Jessica, the woman who'd held my hand through my father's funeral, couldn't do this. Not to me, not to us. But the late nights became more frequent, the excuses flimsier. Work drinks, she'd text, hours after her office in downtown Chicago would have closed. I'd see the glow of her phone screen under the covers at 2 a.m., the way she'd angle it away from me, her thumb typing furiously. I started noticing receipts from expensive restaurants I'd never been to, tucked away in the pockets of her coat. A hotel bar on Rush Street, quiet Italian place in Lincoln Park. Places for two. The shift was gradual, then sudden. The woman I married was replaced by a cold, manipulative stranger. When I'd ask where she'd been, her eyes would narrow. "Why are you so controlling, Alex?" she'd snap, turning my concern into an accusation. She made me feel small, paranoid. The villains, her and this shadow I didn't yet have a name for, felt untouchable. They were living a life in the vibrant heart of the city while I was left in our quiet suburban home, the silence growing louder each night. The breaking point came on a rainy Tuesday. I found a credit card statement she'd tried to hide. There it was, in black and white, a charge for 2 nights at a boutique hotel in the Gold Coast. The same weekend she'd supposedly been at a work conference in Miami. The floor fell out from under me. I remember sitting on the cold kitchen tiles, the paper trembling in my hand and just breaking. The sobs came from a place so deep I didn't know it existed. Humiliation, betrayal, love, it all curdled into a single, agonizing pain. That night, something inside me shifted. The grief didn't disappear, but it hardened. It turned into something cold, sharp, and strategic. My first step was to become a ghost in my own life. I stopped asking questions. I smiled. I made her coffee in the morning. I listened to her fabricated stories about her day. All the while, I was gathering proof. I hired a private investigator, a grizzled ex-cop who operated out of a small office in a less glamorous part of the city. He was expensive, but worth every penny. Within a week, I had a name: Mark. A portfolio manager from her company. PI's photos were brutal, clinical. Jessica and Mark, laughing as they left a bar, his hand on the small of her back, kissing in a dimly lit parking garage, entering the same Gold Coast hotel. Each photo was a fresh stab to the heart, but I saved every single one to a secure, encrypted drive. Next, the legal traps. I met with the most ruthless divorce attorney in Chicago, a woman known for dismantling her opponents. On her advice, I began meticulously documenting everything. I made copies of all our financial statements, tracing the money Jessica had been siphoning from our joint account for her trysts. The hotel stays, the lavish dinners, the gifts for him all paid for with our money. My money. I opened a new bank account and started quietly moving my own salary into it. I let her think I was oblivious, the same trusting, slightly pathetic husband she'd grown to despise. Her arrogance was my greatest asset. She and Mark were so sure of themselves, so wrapped up in their secret world, they never saw the storm gathering. The public exposure had to be perfect. It couldn't be a simple confrontation. It had to be a detonation. Jessica's company was holding its annual awards gala at a grand hotel on the Magnificent Mile. She was slated to receive a major promotion, a fact she'd lorded over me for weeks. It was her night to shine. And I was going to make sure it was a night no one would ever forget. I arrived separately, looking every bit the supportive husband in a tailored suit. I found my seat at her corporate table, nodding politely to her colleagues. When the CEO called her to the stage, The room erupted in applause. She stood at the podium, beaming under the spotlight, the picture of success. And that's when I made my move. As she began her acceptance speech, the two large screens on either side of the stage, meant to be showing her corporate headshot, flickered. And then they came to life. The first image was of her and Mark, kissing in that parking garage. A collective gasp rippled through the ballroom. Jessica froze, her face a mask of horror. The next photo flashed up, the two of them, entering the hotel, his arm around her. Then another, and another. A silent, damning slideshow of her betrayal, projected for her entire professional world to see. The room was dead silent, the only sound Jessica's ragged breathing into the microphone. I didn't stay to watch the fallout, simply stood up, adjusted my tie, and walked out of the ballroom, leaving her alone in the ruins of the life she had so carelessly destroyed. The legal battle was swift and brutal. The mountain of evidence I had, she got nothing. Her company fired her for violating their code of conduct. Her friends, horrified, abandoned her. Mark, the smug coward, disappeared, transferring to a different branch and refusing all her calls. She was left with nothing but the consequences of her choices. I never saw her again. Sometimes late at night, I'll scroll past her old social media profiles, now deleted. It's like she was erased. There's no victory in it, no satisfaction, just a quiet, haunting emptiness. The love I had for her died, and in its place, something colder grew.